Today I wanted to talk to you about rentbacks. Rentbacks have been hugely popular in the current market. Let's talk about what a rentback is and how it can be beneficial to both the buyer and the seller. A rentback is simply a rental agreement between a buyer and a seller that allows the seller to continue to occupy the home after the close of escrow in exchange for rental payments. Typically, these agreements are for 30 days or less. However, they can extend longer than that. Let's talk about how this benefits the seller. The first thing this does for the seller is it allows additional time for the seller to find a home or close escrow on a property that they were already in contract in. This can also ease the stress of moving for the seller. This can also allow the seller to move without having to move twice. So they just complete one move without having to move to a temporary home or a rental property and then have to move again once their property closes escrow. Once a seller's home is sold, it also allows them to make a non-contingent offer on the home that they're going to be purchasing. And we know in this market, non-contingent offers are everything. Now let's talk about some of the benefits to the buyer. Offering a rentback to the seller may make your offer look much more attractive to the seller as it eases the stress of the whole transaction for the seller. So it's a good thing to have in your offer if you are able to do that. A buyer may be able to earn some rental income if they offer a rentback to the seller. However, in this market, rentbacks are typically given for free to entice the seller to accept the buyer's offer. Now let's talk about some of the potential drawbacks for the seller. One of the biggest drawbacks of a rentback for the seller is the possibility of losing your security deposit if some kind of damage happens to the home, or getting into a dispute over the condition of the property. Here are some of the drawbacks for the buyer. When the buyer offers the seller a rentback, the buyer then becomes the landlord of the property. So some of the issues that can come up is collecting rent and the possibility of the need to evict the tenant or the seller in this case. Of course, disputes over the condition of the property may arise after the seller has moved out, and this can be troublesome. Obviously, it can end up going to court or the loss of the security deposit for the seller. As a buyer and offering a rentback, you will likely need some additional insurance to cover the fact that you have a tenant in the property that you now own. Overall, I think rentbacks are a great tool for both the buyer and the seller. And having worked on both sides of the rentback, working on the buyer side or the seller side, I've experienced very few problems with them. Have had some times where we've had to give up some of the security deposit that the seller had because they left the property in less than stellar condition. But generally, these things go pretty smoothly, and we haven't seen a lot of issues with doing them. Anymore in this market, they're pretty much a standard. So as a buyer, you should be prepared to offer a rentback to the seller to help get your offer accepted. That's all I have today. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. I'm Justin Cooper with eXp Realty.